Have you ever had that moment where you completely clear your browser cookies, log out of all your accounts, maybe you even, fire up a premium VPN, and yet somehow the websites you visit still seem to know exactly who you are?
Oh, yeah. It happens all the time.
Right, like you get targeted with an ad for something you looked at weeks ago, or a platform instantly links your brand new account to your old one. It feels like you're walking through a crowded city in a disguise, but uh, every shopkeeper still greets you by your first name.
It's a profoundly unsettling feeling. And honestly, it's becoming the standard experience online now.
Yeah.
We've moved so far past the era of simply tracking an IP address or, just dropping a text-based cookie on your hard drive. The surveillance architecture underneath the modern web is incredibly sophisticated.
And that invisible footprint we all leave behind is exactly what we are unpacking today. So, for this deep dive, we're exploring a highly secretive, really fascinating corner of the software world known as anti-detect browsers.
Yeah.
Specifically, we have a stack of documents here, and we're going to tear down how a major player called GoLogin actually works.
Exactly.
Our mission today is to look at the underlying technology that allows them to completely bypass these tracking systems, map out the 2025 market landscape, and just generally understand this massive shift in how digital identities are managed.
To really grasp the engineering behind an anti-detect browser, we first have to establish what they're actually fighting against.
Right.
Every single time you open a web page, you are transmitting a massive, highly unique data signature. And this is known in the industry as browser fingerprinting.
Right, because when most people think of online tracking, they still just think of their IP address.
Ooh, yeah.
They turn on a VPN and think, okay, I'm a ghost now. But a VPN just changes your location. It's, to use an analogy, using a VPN or Tor is just like wearing a fake mustache in a crowd.
Okay, I like that.
You hide your location, right, but your underlying face is exactly the same. But an anti-detect browser is like wearing a full Mission Impossible mask. It gives you an entirely new, authentic identity.
That is a much more accurate way to look at it. What's fascinating here is that traditional privacy tools only partially hide you. Your IP address is, well, it's almost irrelevant to modern fingerprinting algorithms.
Newly.
Irrelevant.
Basically, yeah. Websites track a staggering number of hyper-specific hardware and software parameters to build a profile of your machine. For instance, according to the sources, they use Canvas 2D and WebGL rendering variations.
Okay, let's unpack that. So we're talking about how a computer's graphics card processes visual data. Like a website will force your browser to invisibly draw a complex 3D shape or render a specific text string in the background.
Exactly. And because different graphics cards, drivers, and operating systems all calculate the floating point math for those graphics slightly differently, the resulting image has unique pixel-level variations.
Microscopic rendering flaws. Exactly, microscopic rendering flaws. You can't see them with the human eye, but the website logs that exact flaw as your unique ID tag. And it goes so much deeper than graphics.
Oh, man. What else do they look at?
They probe your audio contacts. They measure the tiny deviations in how your sound card processes audio frequencies. They check your battery status, the specific hardware concurrency of your CPU cores. And this is wild, even the exact font kerning and smoothing settings on your operating system.
Wait, the font kerning.
Yeah.
So the installed font libraries on my machine and how my OS calculates the tiny subpixel spacing between the letters I'm reading that is feeding into my unique identifier?
Yes, it is.
That is absolutely wild.
It creates an aggregate score. Even if millions of people use the exact same model of MacBook, the combination of your specific battery degradation, your installed fonts, and your audio processing creates a fingerprint that is mathematically unique to you.
Wow. Okay, so if traditional privacy tools, like if the Tor browser or a VPN try to block this data, what actually happens?
All right.
Because if I just tell my browser to block the canvas rendering, doesn't the website just see a giant blank space where my data should be?
Yes. And that is the fundamental flaw of traditional privacy tools in today's environment. They are designed to hide you. But from an algorithm's perspective, a user aggressively blocking tracking scripts looks highly suspicious.
Right, because normal people don't do that.
Exactly. If a fraud detection system sees a totally blank fingerprint, it instantly flags the account. Anti-detect browsers take the exact opposite approach. They don't hide you at all.
They spoof you.
They spoof you. They synthesize a perfectly crafted, entirely normal-looking digital fingerprint. They make you look like a distinct average person sitting at a cafe in Paris or, an office in Tokyo, feeding the algorithm exactly the kind of boring data it expects to see.
Right, so you aren't avoiding the tracking, you are feeding the tracking system a perfectly orchestrated fiction,
Perfectly put.
which is where the engineering behind GoLogin comes in. Because without this spoofing, websites link all your accounts to the same fingerprint, meaning if one is flagged, they all fall like dominoes.
Yeah, that's the risk.
If you manage multiple accounts for a business, say 20 different regional storefronts for an e-commerce brand, and the platform links them all to your single hardware fingerprint, you have a massive single point of failure.
To prevent that cascading failure, the sources detail how GoLogin automatically configures over 53 specific hardware and software parameters to keep every single account entirely compartmentalized.
53 parameters.
Over 53, yeah.
When you create a new profile, it generates a unique user agent, device model, time zone, OS version, hardware concurrency limit, media permissions, all of it uniquely mathematically bound to that specific profile.
And okay, from a technical standpoint, doing that without melting your computer's processor is a serious challenge.
Oh, absolutely. Normally, if you wanted total hardware isolation, you'd spin up a virtual machine. You'd emulate an entire Windows operating system inside your Mac just to run one browser.
Yeah.
But running 10 VMs simultaneously sounds like a jet engine taking off.
Yeah, your laptop would catch fire. Virtual machines are incredibly resource heavy because they have to emulate the entire hardware stack, like from the motherboard up. But GoLogin sidesteps that overhead entirely. They built their architecture on Chromium.
The open source engine behind Google Chrome.
Yes. By modifying the browser engine itself, they achieve the necessary isolation without the massive overhead of a full operating system. To you, the end user, it just feels and performs like regular Chrome.
That's convenient.
The sources claim it's about 12 times cheaper in terms of computational resources than a traditional VM setup. So it allows you to run dozens of spoofed profiles simultaneously on just a standard laptop, while all that complex parameter synthesis just runs silently in the background.
And looking at the infrastructure required to keep those profiles perfectly stable over time, it's pretty heavy duty. You can't have your spoofed Mac in Chicago suddenly change its underlying hardware profile between Tuesday and Wednesday.
Right.
Or the algorithm catches the discrepancy.
Right. Consistency is everything.
They're using AES 256 encryption to secure the profile data, which is essentially the cryptographic standard for classified information.
The consistency of the fingerprint is paramount. To maintain that, the sources say they are leveraging load balancing across both AWS and Google Cloud. This gives them a historical uptime of 99.99%.
Wow.
It really highlights how professionalized this sector has become. We are talking about a platform with a 100-millisecond response drag-and-drop interface built for enterprise-level stability, not some fringe, unstable hacker tool.
Which changes the way businesses operate. I mean, if you've ever had to manage multiple legitimate accounts for a business, you know the absolute dread of a sudden, unexplained algorithmic ban. It's very real.
Oh, terrifying for a business owner.
This technology creates a safe, unified dashboard to prevent that. But what does this all mean if you aren't just a solo user, but working with a team across the globe? Because managing multiple profiles as a solo user is one thing. What happens when you have virtual assistants handling different client accounts?
Historically, team management in highly secured environments is an operational nightmare.
Oh, for sure. You're sharing spreadsheets full of passwords. You're waking up at 3 a.m. to forward a two-factor authentication code from your phone to an employee in another time zone. It's wildly inefficient.
Yeah.
But the session sharing mechanic here completely bypasses that.
It does.
You don't actually share passwords with your virtual assistants or teammates. Instead, you share an active session.
Right. You share the active state of the browser itself. The account stays securely logged in on the cloud-hosted profile. The administrator just grants a team member precise profile permissions, and when the team member opens it, they are instantly inside the authenticated session.
Because it's passing the authentication token and the cookie state directly, rather than, passing the raw credentials. But wait, there's a geographic component here too. If my virtual assistant in the Philippines logs into my client's US-based account, even with the right cookie, wouldn't the website instantly detect a massive IP address anomaly and flag the account?
That is exactly where the network routing integration becomes critical. A perfectly spoofed hardware fingerprint is useless if the IP address doesn't match the story you're telling the algorithm.
Right.
So GoLogin includes premium built-in proxies right out of the box, covering 195 countries.
And we should probably clarify the types of proxies here because they offer residential, mobile, and data center IPs.
Yeah, that distinction is really important.
If you use a data center IP, it looks like your traffic is originating from an Amazon server farm, which websites know is usually a bot.
Mhm.
But a residential proxy routes your traffic through an actual physical home internet connection. To the website, it literally looks like a regular customer sitting in a house in Ohio.
Exactly. And by bundling 2 gigabytes of monthly bandwidth into their paid plans, they remove the friction of configuring complex third-party proxy setups. The geographic anchor is just built into the profile creation process. But, the team sharing is really only the human element. The developer integrations reveal a much larger paradigm shift.
Oh, you're talking about the automation frameworks.
Yes.
The sources explicitly note their integrations with Selenium and Puppeteer. And for those who don't know, these are industry-standard tools for headless browser automation. Basically, writing scripts to interact with websites for web scraping without a human ever touching a mouse.
And if you combine headless automation with a perfectly spoofed hardware fingerprint and a residential IP, you have a machine that can scrape data or interact with platforms at a massive scale without ever triggering a rate limit or a bot detection CAPTCHA.
It's crazy.
But the real evolution of this is their implementation of what the sources call the MCP framework.
Right, the Model Context Protocol. This allows users to operate the browser programmatically using AI agents like GPT, Claude, or Cursor.
This is a profound leap. If we connect this to the bigger picture, we're looking at the bridge between advanced AI automation and indistinguishable human digital identities. You can hand an AI agent the keys to a uniquely spoofed, highly trusted profile.
So the AI can scrape competitor pricing, manage social media campaigns, or execute trades, and the host platform has absolutely no mathematical way of knowing it's not a human sitting at a real computer.
Precisely.
Wait, really? So the AI basically gets a physical disguise. That is staggering.
It really is.
But, okay, if this architecture is this powerful, GoLogin can't be the only sheriff in town. The sources provide a massive comparison of the 2025 market landscape. Can you just walk us through the alternatives impartially? Because it seems highly competitive.
Oh, the Antidetect market has completely splintered into specialized tiers. At the highest end, you have platforms like multi-login.
Right, and according to the impartial reporting from the sources, multi-login is positioned as the heavy-duty enterprise-level tool. It offers superior, deeply complex spoofing mechanisms.
It does, but the engineering trade-off is massive. It requires a dedicated desktop agent to run, making it significantly slower and far more resource-intensive on your hardware than a Chromium-based solution like GoLogin. Plus, it is much more expensive.
So it prioritizes absolute security over agility.
Exactly. Then, on the opposite end of the spectrum, you have a tool like AdsPower. This one targets the budget-conscious digital marketing sector, and it's heavily optimized for automation tasks.
But the sources note there is a massive liability there. AdsPower recently suffered a damaged reputation due to user data breaches. And, in an industry literally built on operational security and protecting identities, a data breach isn't just a bug, right? It's a fatal flaw.
Well, trust is the entire product. Once that trust is compromised, the user base evaporates. Then, moving on, you have highly specialized niche tools like Dolphin Ante. They have carved out a massive presence in the affiliate marketing space.
Dolphin Ante has a very aggressive acquisition strategy. They have a generous 10-profile free plan, which makes it the go-to for beginners. But again, there's a trade-off. They are widely cited in the sources as having lower overall reliability and uptime compared to the top-tier options.
And if your business relies on 24/7 automation, downtime is lost revenue. We also see tools prioritizing very specific architectural needs. Camilio, for instance.
What do they focus on?
They focus deeply on custom mobile and desktop fingerprinting, allowing for intense granular control if you need to perfectly spoof a specific Android or iOS device environment.
Okay, got it.
And then Incogniton is another alternative that emphasizes secure offline access and team sharing, though its architecture is known to consume much heavier CPU and RAM resources per browser window. That drastically limits how many profiles you can run simultaneously.
So if you try to open 20 Incogniton profiles on a standard laptop, your system is just going to crawl to a halt.
Exactly. And finally, for the absolute budget-conscious solo freelancers who just need basic multi-accounting without any of the bells and whistles, the sources highlight bare-bones options like Sessionbox and Hidemayak.
So based on these sources, GoLogins is basically positioning itself as the Goldilocks option.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
It's drastically lighter on your computer's RAM than Incogniton. It's significantly cheaper and more agile than the enterprise giant multi-login, but it claims to be safer and maintains the high-end security that budget options like AdsPower or Dolphin Anti seem to struggle with.
That is exactly how the market landscape is presented in the text. They are aiming dead center for high-end security paired with mid-tier pricing.
Which logically leads to the question of who is actually buying this? Like, why are people actually using this level of identity compartmentalization?
The use cases are really vast.
The sources list quite a few. We're talking affiliate marketing, where marketers are managing dozens of ad campaigns across different traffic sources. Drop shipping and e-commerce sellers managing multiple distinct storefronts on Amazon or Shopify.
Right, they need to ensure that a customer dispute on store A doesn't cause an algorithmic ban on store B.
Web scraping is another massive one. Pulling analytics or pricing data from competitors requires rotating identities to avoid getting IP banned.
But the applications also extend into areas that actively leverage the spoofing to bypass platform limitations. Things like participating in crypto airdrops, where users create dozens of spoofed wallets to maximize their token rewards, or ticket scalping, where automated profiles bypass purchase limits on concert venues.
Okay, wait, I have to jump in here. Managing a marketing agency is one thing, but ticket scalping, crypto airdrop farming, that is actively subverting a platform's rules to hoard inventory or manipulate a system. How is a software company legally operating a business that facilitates that?
This raises an important question regarding legality, and the FAQ sources clarify this crucial point. It requires separating a platform's terms of service from actual federal law. The technology itself, the Antidetect browser modifying how your computer renders data, is fundamentally illegal. Operating it for ethical business purposes, like an agency managing client accounts, is completely within the bounds of the law.
But violating an e-commerce site's rule against holding two accounts isn't a crime. It just gets you banned from the site.
Correct. The sources state that a terms of service violation is a civil contract issue with the platform, not a criminal act. However, the legal boundary is crossed when the tool is used for explicit fraud, cybercrime, or accessing unauthorized financial systems. That is strictly illegal.
So the Antidetect browser is a neutral mechanism. It's a highly sophisticated digital crowbar. The manufacturer builds the crowbar. Whether the user utilizes it to renovate a house or break into a vault dictates the legal liability.
Exactly.
Well, considering the AWS and Google Cloud architecture required to maintain this level of highly available, perfectly spoofed infrastructure, this operation has to be generating serious revenue. So how does the pricing actually break down?
They utilize a highly scalable SaaS model. There is a forever free plan, but it is heavily restricted to just 3 browser profiles. It serves primarily as a way for users to test the Chromium interface.
So a free 7-day trial, basically. And then to actually utilize the tool for business, you have to move to the paid tiers.
Right.
The entry-level professional tier ranges between $4 and $9 a month, depending on annual billing, which gives you 100 uniquely spoofed profiles. And then their flagship business plan scales from $59 to $119 a month, expanding the capacity to 300 profiles and unlocking the team member access and permission controls.
And for institutional operations, the enterprise and custom tiers scale up to support tens of thousands of simultaneous profiles, providing high-volume API access for those heavy, automated developer frameworks we discussed.
It is genuinely staggering to step back and look at what the internet has become underneath the surface.
It really is.
Most of us log on, buy a pair of shoes, check our email, and have absolutely no idea that there is a quiet, invisible war happening in the background. A place where your battery status and your font settings can give away your exact identity.
Yep.
And in response, tools like GoLogin exist to engineer a perfectly crafted, synthesized reality to perfectly mask you in a sea of normal-looking data.
I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over, building on our earlier discussion about automation. We talked about how this software allows AI agents to control these uniquely spoofed profiles.
Yeah, the MCP framework.
Exactly. As this technology gets cheaper and more accessible, we have to wonder in the near future, when you interact with an account online, how will you ever know if it's a real person or just a perfectly crafted digital fingerprint operated by an AI.
Wow.
It's something to think about the next time you log on.
That is a wild thought to carry with you. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the invisible internet. Keep questioning the digital world around you, and we'll catch you next time.